Share a notable experience that occurred your first time teaching.
It's not necessarily for my first time teaching, but I had like a series of classes that each one would have maybe like a unique need for a student, maybe doing it in the chair or having some physical limitations. And I was quite familiar with that, having those issues myself. And so I can remember actually the first class that I taught that was just like quote unquote regular students, that there was no chair or special needs. And it really threw me because I was so used to like, okay, I'll take these students here and the other instructor takes these students here. So that's what I remember as kind of a first.
So remind me, Beth, so you were teaching on Tuesday evenings with Master Dad?
Yes.
I came in, although I had trained on a few of the postures with Sean, I had never done it in front of any students. So when I came into the fold and started teaching, there were literally students that had been doing the form longer than I had. So that was pretty stressful. But at the same time, I think there were a lot of lessons to be learned in doing it that way as well. It definitely made me study and work harder to, get caught up and get crisp. So for me, just even the first time being in the room with folk was pretty exciting, but a little stressful.
I believe it was my first class ever. This is when a Giga handed to me right before I entered the class. And I was so nervous, extremely, I was terrified. And I remember Caesar Sean initiated the class, and a bunch of us co-instructors, we were walking around, or actually we were standing around the students first. And then he initiated a little bit of breathing exercises. And then after that, we moved into paint. And I remember walking around, and as Caesar had instructed, and hey, make sure everybody is kind of getting themselves situated correctly with the posture. And I ended up walking around one of our students, who happens to be a really tall, lanky, older gentleman, Bob. And I tried to give him resistance on his wrist. And,
Wait, so this is Bob Budemeyer?
Bob Budemeyer, yes.
Okay.
I remember trying to give him resistance on his wrist, and I thought he was going to be fragile, because of his age. And so I just put a little bit of pressure. Next thing I know, my whole arm started going up. I'm like, okay, I can't add too much pressure now. So I let that go slightly. Then I moved waited for the arm to come back. And I recall this time I just said, I'm going to put more pressure. And I whispered it so nobody else could hear it. And unfortunately, neither did Bob. So I put a little more pressure on it. And he just kind of stopped and looks at me, and I'm like, so that was one of my funniest first experiences teaching.
So where was your first class that you taught? What building was it in? Or which floor?
This was on the second floor. This was on 11th and Mass Street. On one of the corners, there was a flower shop.
This is upstairs or downstairs that you had your first class?
Upstairs.
Oh.
The downstairs
okay.
was next door on the ground floor. This was the class that was on the second story, right above the corner of the flower shop.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's
a
old.
little wooden room with, or a room with wooden floors. I recall that.
Yeah. So, and Master Dowd made a comment. Yeah, Bob had a hard time
hearing whispers.
And of course, years later, he got his
hearing aid.